Hey there, I'm Henry, professor of religion and philosophy, and I'm talking about a 90-day cleanse of no alcohol. Please seek professional help for any substance abuse issues. So it's been 3 to 4 weeks, and today is day 23. And I'm feeling on course with this. The train is moving, it's going, it's rolling. And I'm feeling that with these videos I've said pretty much what I want to say. Here's a couple things. Sometimes when people relapse, when they start drinking or doing drugs again, it's not actually, that's when they do the substance is not actually the first part of the relapse. It's when they stop doing the things that are necessary to keep them sober and healthy. So for this 90-day cleanse, one aspect of it is to keep reading materials about why you're doing it on hand and keep reading them. Keep looking at videos that you find helpful, looking at experts that you find helpful, looking at books that you find helpful, going to AA meetings, and all that. So there's a certain healthy practice that will prevent you from looking to alcohol to sort of fill that void, even as a light to moderate drinker. So another thing I've been thinking about is, for me, even if I go back to drinking socially, part of the big problem for alcohol for me is that I would look forward to it too much. I would look forward to Friday and Saturday being with friends and drinking, and as part of what we do. And that's a real problem for me. It's like, why is it infesting my mind throughout the week with that? It's something I really look forward to too much. Why can't I just look forward to being with friends without using a drug? So that's a problem for me. It's sort of filling in my mind, filling in my emotions. In a way, I just don't want it to be there. So that's another reason I want it to sort of clear out that anticipatory pleasure, and I don't think that's authentic. I want my mind to be thinking about other things. I want to have more interesting and productive things to do. Another aspect I've been thinking about is that alcohol creates the emptiness that seeks to be filled by alcohol. It's this sense that there's this vague sort of feeling, I want to drink, I'd like a drink, I'd like to go out with friends, or I had a bad day, I'm home alone, and it would be okay to have a couple of beers. But why would that even be the case? It is the case for many, many people that certainly we can understand that. In my sense is that, yeah, once you've experienced that, once your brain knows that, you begin to want to do it, and it becomes, not that you're like physically addicted, but that's that sense that you could be having something to make you feel, quote, happier, allegedly. You could be experiencing that. That's a lesson you learned, and that's a lesson alcohol taught you. It's the fact that your past use of alcohol has taught you that. And so taking 90 days helps us get out of that. And I think that's part of really the insidious, pernicious, tricky, sticky, addictive nature of alcohol, is that it creates the rationale for its own use. And it's not actually doing anything for us. It doesn't count as anything we are doing. I'm not really doing anything by taking this substance, this this powerful drug, and it's really not doing anything for me. As I try to sum up what I'm thinking that over the course of 90 days, it became clear to me that alcohol is not additive to happiness. In fact, if you add up all the pros and cons, it comes out in the negative. So it's not really something that is giving me something over 90 days. Yeah, the moments that you are enjoying, the effects can be pleasurable, but there's a cost for those, and when you factor all that in, I have found in my life it worked for me not drinking at all. I like that complete answer instead of bargaining. And then when I factor in what modern science is teaching us about how it is not healthy for the heart, there is a greater risk for car accidents and other accidents. There is a slightly greater cancer risk. There's a definite risk for liver damage. Even moderate users have a measurable decrease in brain size. So when you factor all that in, you get less sleep. That affects your whole functioning the next day, your mood the next day. It's not really a good deal for me. And one of the beauties of being a teetotaler, absolutely no alcohol, is that it allows you just to rest and relax, and the decision's already made. You're in the habit of it. You don't have to deal with that divided mind, the devil on your shoulder. It's just gone, and you can focus on other things and fill your life with other things, and then that task becomes very enjoyable. So that's how I would summarize what 90 days has meant to me on day 23. They say that alcohol and other drugs may affect certain parts of our brains, our physical brains, more than others. And they have done experiments on rats where they've put electrical wires endings specifically in those small areas of the brain. Many of them are the very basic areas of the brain. And they will connect that to a little lever that the rat can push down on, and that will send the electrical impulse into that part of the brain, causing this high. And the rats will do that often to the point of death. They will give up food, sex, and all their other instincts. That is a powerful analogy for what drugs might be doing to human beings. If drugs are affecting that part of the brain in particular, that really explains why people are doing that. And when they say alcoholism or drug abuse is a disease, it may be other things. It may be a philosophical, a moral, an ethical issue. But at the level of disease, as one of those many levels, at that level, that's what it is that brain center has been so hijacked. And the drug addict is like one of those rats. Just keep doing the drug, keep exciting that part of the brain to the exclusion of all else. That's not a very nice picture, but that is the picture of what chemical substances are doing to people. They also have done studies where they offer rats both drug-laced water and clear water, and drugs that are all alone and isolated will tend to use the drug-based one. But in a colony, they won't, because they're getting that social support. And they just, for some reason, even rats can figure that out. So a big takeaway from that is perhaps having lots of social action and lots of social connections is really important for us. And if we have those, then the need for alcohol or other drugs is much lessened. One writer talks about alcohol homogenizing life, and that's would be my experience too, that different kinds of substances would homogenize life, would make it all the same. Whether you're doing this or that or this or that, it's always that constant buzz, like maybe give me some alcohol to help enjoy this. And then you're sort of just always looking for that instead of really participating and fully being there for the wonderful differences of life, going for a walk, playing games, seeing a movie, dancing, hiking, watching sports. You could just be there for what it is without always having that homogenization, that everything's the same. It's just all about the buzz, and then everything else is in the background. Earlier I was talking about rats in a cage, and ones that have a group are much less likely to get addicted. And they found that with American vets returning from Vietnam, that those who used heroin but who came back to a supportive social environment were able to stop, which shows the power of social connection, which probably is a big part of the Alcoholics Anonymous experience. Period. Period. End of story. There. Yeah, and Alcoholics Anonymous is very successful compared with others, but a lot of people fail. And one big thing to get through is get out of this early. Get out of alcohol early, early, early. Do not let it progress. It will pull you down. It wants to take you down. Something in you, in your brain, wants to take you down. You've got to get out early. You've got to get off the train early. Another aspect that I don't like with alcohol is, even when I'm out with friends and I'm enjoying their company, when they get really buzzed and drunk, it's not all just pure happiness. A lot of times they just get loud and silly, and they want to talk. They don't want to listen. They don't want to really participate. It's if you've talked to a drunk person or a buzzed person, it can be fun, but also there's something really missing now because they're not fully there. They can really just, they make their jokes, they laugh, they want to talk, they want to be involved, and to a much larger extent, so that they really aren't the same person, and they can be like there's always a fight to see who gets their words in because everyone's so excited. And sometimes people get hurt, angry, emotions fly. They're just, I don't know, it's not necessarily as fun when I think about it. When I think about once a lot of the drinking has been done, and then sometimes after a lot has been done, they just sort of get so quiet and not wanting to talk. So it's not like alcohol is really necessary for this great social interaction. So for the light to moderate drinker, you're going to have to say no at some point. So why not just say no once and that's it? Alcohol is like salt, drinking salt water, or some sort of mineral water that has salts in it. So drinking salt water, you'd get that immediate sense, oh, my thirst is quenched, but you'd become even more thirsty. And even drinking the salt water will sort of be something you want to do because somehow you want to take that drink, but the more you drink, the more you're going to want to drink, and your thirst is never going to be sated because you're taking in all that salt. So you're going to continue to be thirsty. And alcohol is like that. Alcohol is like salt water. It does not satisfy, and it creates the conditions for its own use and abuse. It's like salt water. It's not really answering our thirst for meaning, for pleasure, for enjoyment. It's creating more thirst. Alcohol creates this displeasure, this discontent even the next day, even for moderate drinkers. So just as the serious alcoholic who has physical dependence and really just feels terrible with withdrawal symptoms the next day or after a few hours, the moderate drinker can feel that too. And that's what has come out in contemporary science, that they can measure hormone levels and they see the next day that cortisol, for example, is higher. And so there are these unconscious, uneasy feelings, very vague, perhaps not even noticeable. And that's what I am calling a spiritual, a psychological attentiveness to, is that we need to really be aware that it is alcohol from the past day's usage creating this moderate, maybe not even perceptible uneasiness that is like having had a lot of salt water. Now we're thirsty even the next day. So that's one thing I think we really look at in terms of 90 days when we're not experiencing that. It's like, oh, these afternoons really aren't that bad. Really, I can do other things. There's really no need. There's no need for it in social interactions. So just to be really attuned to those below the level of conscious awareness aspects. I remember the first few days, days 1 to 4 especially, were a little bit difficult for me intellectually, in the sense of I felt I was missing out on something, perhaps. It's like I was making a sacrifice. But the more I've studied this and looked at it, I've really convinced myself that it's not giving me anything good. So that fear of missing out, that fear, that rational idea that, oh, this is something good that I want to incorporate in my life. That when you realize that idea is not accurate, it's salt water, it's not water. Water is good enough. Clean water is a wonderful thing. And then to take 90 days, to make it really an absolute explicit decision, that will percolate down into the subconscious, into the physical structure of the brain, and the brain will get used to not getting that and will find other ways. I mean, the brain is going to look for ways to survive and to enjoy. And if you don't have that substance coming in and constantly recharging those areas of the brain that are calling for this substance, then you'll be much happier. The little fires that pop up, they won't have much fuel to burn. But if you're constantly giving them fuel every weekend, or most weekends, the fires are going to pop up and they'll never go out. I saw a YouTube video of a heroin addict on the street. He was a middle-aged man. He was a successful, highly skilled carpenter. He lost his apartment, his girlfriend, his friends, his car. He was living on the street as a heroin addict. And he was perfectly rational at this point in the day before he used. And that's what struck me, is that he looked perfectly normal, articulate, intelligent, aware of his situation, but he just was not willing to give up heroin, which he admitted. He said he liked heroin too much. He enjoyed it too much. In spite of the fact he was living on the street, he said, oh, the streets of this California city are not that bad. He's got a place to sleep. He enjoys it. He sleeps well. And what struck me was how okay he was with it. That his brain, his self, his soul was okay with living on the street, using heroin every day, and then just sleeping in a cardboard box And he was fine with it. He was okay with it. He wasn't ready to go back to regular life. He had lost the ability to enjoy regular life. And something more, he had lost the ability to really see that he was in this hellish kind of existence. Very mindless and boring and dangerous and wasting his time. That was to me very scary. It wasn't as if he was even fully aware of the amount of his own life that he had lost. And if chemical substances can do that, including alcohol, that's a substance I want to stay away from, even with the little effects, because it begins to affect the thinking, that the whole higher brain, the prefrontal cortex, how we think, our executive decision making, our emotions and hopes that we have for our life, and they just seem to be gone. And that was very frightening. So a 90-day cleanse is not just an exercise in willpower. It's not the idea that, oh, I really think alcohol is great, it's so much fun, I want to keep doing it, but I just have to do this for my health, and I'm going to just doggedly get through it. I'm going to suffer through this. I can do it. I have the willpower. I can give this great thing up. I can give up alcohol. I can show them I'm in control. I'm going to do it for 90 days. I can be really tough. That's not really the purpose from a spiritual point of view, from a more psychological or even a medical point of view. The idea is that alcohol is not something that gives you anything. And the 90 days is a chance for you to really see that it's not additive to spiritual insight. It's not a complement to what life already has to offer. It's a time to see clearly. It's a time to see that it's full of false promises. And that it's the cause of its own problem, which is a very freeing thing. That's even better, is that it's hard to give up in the beginning, but then you see it's really not hard to give up to maintain it, because it's a false friend. It's salt water. And so a 90-day cleanse, maybe we should think of it in terms of something else, like a 90-day perception, 90-day insight, 90-day reality check, 90-day find true happiness experiment. And that's what it has been for me in the past, and I'm experiencing that more now.